All right, so today we're going to talk about weighting the toe. So in my experience in the past few decades, I have come into many riders and many runners, as well as now walkers, because a lot of my clients I have are now in their 50s and they've moved from running to walking. And so when you run, you're supposed to have a heel strike. What doesn't happen is the knee doesn't have as much of a bend as you would have in walking. So because of the length of the stride, the knee doesn't get the synovial fluid to pump through during a run, but during a walk it does. But since a lot of people had been running and they may have been forward in their run, they began developing habits of running onto the front of their foot. So at the beginning of a run, you would start on your foot, and then once you level off, you should come through and hit the heel down and lift up into the hip flexor to push through into the glute, and that's going to give you the most power. When you run on your toes, you're going to start to run with your hips rather than your glutes, and then you're also going to start to move your body forward because it's going to be a forward movement. You're now onto the toe, you're weighting the calf, which is a postural muscle, and you're putting the movements into the wrong areas. Same thing with a rider in a seated position. If they're riding on the toe of their stirrup, they're going to start to weight the leg that is more dominant rather than moving into the heel and getting the right parts of the leg and the hips to be weighted so they can sit back into their seat. The minute you load your feet, your toes, you're going to move forward. The minute you weight your heels, you're going to move back. Now, since the back of the arch into the heel is going to give you much more core alignment through the spine, that's where you're going to have most of your strength. But if you start going into this position, your body is going to make up that difference. All right, and eventually it's going to really go into the upper back. And that's what I start to see. I start to see people who are walking for time or distance, and they're starting to develop upper kyphosis. So this is a short video just to start to understand the correction, try to put some tidbits of movement in there from the program. But the first thing we want to think about is, why are we weighting the toe? Where else are we forward? And so the easiest way to do this is start by that deep reset where you have your thumbs together, you have your heels together, and you're moving up over your head and keeping those heels together. Now, if you can do this movement in a nice straight line, then that means that you have fairly good central core stability. If you need to keep your hands out in front, or your heels won't come together because you're moving into that eversion of the foot, then we're going to need to start working on that alignment. So that deep line reset is a great way to start. See where you're at. It's going to change daily. Do those before you start anything and make sure that your body is in the right alignment. 3-second rule, bringing it up for 3 seconds on the exhale, bringing it down for 3 seconds on the inhale. Do about 3 of them just to start and get yourself centered. Then from that point, we can start to think about where the upper body is over the top of the hips. Because if the upper body is here, we've got a really tight shoulder. So at that point, you want to go to a chest exercise. See the pec major or the kyphosis video and do some of those exercises for the pec and the upper pec, which is going to be slower, inclines and flats, and that's going to open up the chest. And then what'll happen is you're going to go from here to here, and now you've taken the weight off of the front of the hip. Now you're ready to start thinking about training the lower body. And with that, you're gonna go into a squat, because a squat is going to ensure that you're moving behind you into your heel and then standing back up. So you're gonna go to the squat video that I did, and you're going to watch that and perform squats. I did them in 3 sets, and where the middle one is slower and the outer one is a little faster, trying to get to different quadriceps. And then you're also going to go to the glute video and do some glutes to keep these attachment sites to the front opened up. And the last thing that we're gonna do on this video is understanding how to train the foot. So I've got 2 different things that you can do. One is just really trying to understand how to weight the heel. So it's very simple. Before you start your footwork, you're just going to rock forward and back, because now you're all nice and straight. You did your deep line reset, you did your chest work, you did your squats, you did your glutes. And now I want you to just move into front line and then into back line, and feel the body weight both of those points. Once you have your body moving so that you comfortably feel yourself resisting forward and then resisting back, then center yourself, all right? And that's going to start to build the proprioception back from the brain to the heel. Now I'll see quite often the heel muscle is going to be smaller, and the heel will actually start to get pointed when they'll start to build up density in their toes. They often come in and complain about pain in their toes, or their toes don't have good flexibility, and that's because you're walking on them and they're not meant to be walked on specifically. Your heel actually has the most structure to the foot, and that's where the strike is. And remember that Babinski reflex at birth, where they knock on the heel of the baby, flick on the heel to see if there's a reaction, because the heel goes right back to the brain. So it also has this wonderful magical thing going on where you put your foot down and it tells your brain what the surface is like. Where do I need my body to go to? There's a direct, remember we were talking about that internal pump of that core? This is it. This is the brain telling that deep core, all of the shoulder girdle, neck, into the heart, everything. The vagus nerve is involved with that. It's telling it what to do. Okay, we've got an uneven surface, let's prepare. We've got a slope surface, let's prepare. Those are all heel reactions. And when you run and eventually strike that heel down to run, the body's also going to go into fight or flight. It's going to start to release endorphins, and it's going to release some cortisol. And here's that whole runner's high. And I've talked to you about that be careful syndrome, because we don't want the body to think that we're running from a bear and start to develop these patterns of stress and having biochemistry build up in there. So there needs to be a really nice balance between understanding when to rest and when to work and work out. All right. So the next thing I'm going to do for you is I'm going to show the second part of a Pilates style workout. Now I'm going to assume that anybody watching this does not have a reformer. I am going to post a reformer workup up as well, so that you can, if you have a reformer or if you want to do a different reformer workout, you can. This is just going to be with a band. So I got this red Spree band, which hopefully I can put this in the comments for you. And then I got some foot straps that have clips on them, and I clip them on the end. Now these do have something on the end that you could put your foot in, but this is plastic and it's a little slippery. So you got a couple choices. These are really hard. Like, I couldn't imagine getting these off. You could try it and just put grippy socks on, or you could look for something that has like tape or something to put on it so that it's not slippery, because you don't want your foot to slip off of this. So I'm gonna attach this. What you're gonna do is you're just gonna open a door up and put the strap on the doorknob behind it. Make sure they're even. And close the door. Make sure it's closed. You can lock it too.
All right, so with that door secured, we're gonna have the strap right at the bottom of the ball of the foot so that we can point and that we can flex. The lower back should have a bit of a space underneath it. It should not be flat to the mat. We wanna have that hip in a neutral position, and we wanna have that natural arc to the lumbar because we want the hip flexors to be in neutral position. If we're tucked under, we have the ab engaged, we have the lower back long, and we have no support for the lower back. So take that hip and move the sacrum, the triangular bone at the base of your hip, and move it into the mat a little bit, and then draw the abdomen in gently, and that'll neutralize your hip. And the first one's gonna be a push down, so straight. And I'm gonna do this on the reformer as well on a different video if you have a reformer. And then you're gonna flex really hard. And that's why I said make sure that you have good grippy socks on. Point and push. So we're going back line, flex to front line, squeezing the quadriceps while you come up, pointing and pushing towards the floor with the hamstring and the glute. Don't go too far. Work within a nice area. Now what this is gonna do is actively open up the base of our hamstring and then contract it. So it's a really nice opener for that hamstring, which is gonna be short on somebody who is on their toes when they're doing their sports. So we want to really find it. Now, mistakes that you can make, and I see this all the time, people come up and do this. Now my back is completely flat right now. Now if I move my back into extension, my feet drop. See the difference? There's my back flat, there's my back not. All right, we want to be neutral. We don't want to come up into a flat back. I've lost my hamstring. I'm in my lower back right now. My lower back does not want to work like that. So I want to keep my lower back still, and I want to think about the big ball and socket joint of the hip, and I want to move from that only. I want to focus on my hip, front of my hip flexor, and the back of my hip extensors, my hamstring and my glutes. And then I want to think about the front of my shin coming up, pointing, and then really opening up the front of my shin by getting the calf to contract. All right. And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna hold it here and we're gonna bend the knees in nice and slow to open up these 2 points of the glutes and the hip, and then push. So this we can do a 4 count on for 1, 2, 3, 4, push 1, 2, 3, 4, and again. And this is just like your cable work on the reformer. I'm slowing it down because I really want you to think about engaging the deeper part of your body. Think about pulling into the deep pelvic girdle and then pushing back with that deep hip bone in that deeper part of the inner thigh, hamstring, quads, pulling into that knee area, pushing back with that back hamstring, pulling in with this front hip and pushing with that knee. Good. And then let's do a 2 count with this. So we're gonna pull for 2, push for 2, and look very, very specific. I tell my clients I want you to look like robotic. I want it to be really nice and clean. I want those movements to be specific to where they're working. Good, and we're gonna just do a 4 count and a 2 count. I'll go to 5 today. And then we're gonna go into a heels together, flexing up. So we're backwards now, pointing and pointing in and squeezing. Good, flex the feet, bring it up, really open up that Achilles, point, and bring it in and down a little bit. flex. Now when you come out, try to squeeze the glute while you're flexing those feet. Point, pull it in with that inside part of the pelvis. Flex, and this is a slower 4 count as well because we're gonna open up the pelvic girdle with this. Point and bring it in. Good. Now hold it. Do a 4 count in. Flexed feet. Keep the feet flexed and push. All right. We're really going to open up those heels by doing this with flexion, that dorsiflexion of the foot, pulling those toes towards the shin. Nice and slow for this first set. Develop the flexibility of the femur bone, thigh bone, into the pelvic bone, where it rolls inside that bone. Develop that flexibility. And the best way to do it is going nice and slow, controlling it from that hip bone, not moving the pelvic bone, and developing it. Good. Now do a 2 count. So it's pull, 2, push. And see how flexed my feet are? Really getting into that Achilles, trying to get that Achilles stronger. You're gonna feel the front of your feet start to get a little tired. If that's the case, you can do what you get to and then stop and then try to move forward next time. Good, and 1 more. Good, and bring it out. Now we're gonna go into a leg circle, pointing down, pointing all the way down, and then flexing and coming up. Point and move down. Good, and just draw a circle with your feet. Doesn't have to be big. Keep the resistance very much the same. You notice I'm going slow because I really want to focus on trying to point and flex. The other thing with your point is watch that you're not grippy with your toes. Try to point from your ankle. It may take you a little bit, but practice that. A lot of times I'll find a curl in at that toe with clients, and they'll be gripping with the toes on the inside of their shoe. Now point and go down and out, and then flex and come up, and then point and in. And you'll feel this a little differently. You'll start to feel this in that outside part of the hamstring, on that upper leg, that part that comes to the outside knee. Good. And point with those ankles, flex and come up and together, and point and out, flex and together. And I'm going to do another one. I love doing this one. I'm not sure if I made it up or not, but I enjoy doing it. I call it the bow and arrow. So you're gonna bend, this is easier doing this with straps than on the reformer, but you're gonna bend your leg in on one side and then point on the other and let it fall out, and then bring them together. Flex the foot, bending in on the left, and then point and move it out to the right. And it just gets you to lock in the hip as you open up through the short muscles of the inner thigh, which are postural. So it lets you see which inside pelvic area has more tightness. It's also going to help you practice your foot movements. And bring it in. Good. Let's do 2 more. Flex, point that foot, moving it out, and bring it in. And 1 more, flex and point, and bring it in. Very good. And then for the last one, you can just flex your feet and point, and practice doing this from the ankle. And just do, just like you would do a calf press on the equipment. We'll just do 5. Just a nice way to finish and feel your imbalances so that you could really work with them each time and be progressive.
All right, so that's the best way that I can start somebody that has some moving towards that front of that foot too much. And habits get built through stress. And when you're trying to accomplish something that your body isn't capable of yet, you create compensations and adaptations. And it holds true for everything, whether it's fitness or nutrition, biochemistry, or, you know, some other type of, you know, task that you're doing. The minute you get stressed, tired, anxious, whatever it might be, your body's going to try to figure out a way to make it easier for you to finish the task, especially if you're tired. So that goes back to that too much or too little theory that I have up on the channel, is know when is the time to quit. Don't push yourself beyond that, because your body's going to start to build those pathways. And that's in my neuromuscular therapy video. I'm going to make you watch all my videos by saying this. Where the body starts to create bigger and bigger nerve pathways. The more that you do something, it gets easier and easier for the body to be able to regulate the nerve pathways to those movements or pain points or whatever it might be. So if you continue to do something regularly and your body gets used to it and compensates and adapts, then it's going to be easier and easier to cheat each time you do it, to the point where people sometimes come in and they don't even realize that they have those issues when I point them out. So start with those exercises and let's see how you go. All of the stuff that I do is great for everybody, but specifically I wanted to address this because I saw a few people in the last few weeks with this, and I'm trying to create the videos as I work with different types of dysfunctions. So thank you. Have a great day.